We just took over sales for a landscaping company that was leaving so much money on the table every single day. This is week one of growing our home services holding company. Right now, we have 4 holdings. Been at this for a while, and we have a majority equity stake in Dolphin Dumpsters and Junk Removal, servicing residential and commercial clients in exactly what it sounds like, dumpster rental and junk removal. And it's currently in its first month of operations, going decently well, more updates to come. We have a minority equity position in Duct Dynasty, which is a commercial and residential HVAC cleaning company that services lots of big facilities all over Florida and homes in Central Florida. We got this last year, and a revenue growth partnership, a revenue share growth partnership with Wildscape Designs, which is a native plant-focused landscape design installation company servicing Central Florida, and full ownership of Scale for Sale AI, which is our AI automation arm that helps small businesses like these ones get more customers by just responding faster to leads, booking site visits, estimates, quotes, whatever you want to call it, more often, sales calls. And here's the deal that we made with Wildscape. This video is going to be about them. We said, you guys have the beehive and we'll just bring the bees. They had marketing, they had a great brand, they had the ability to fulfill on all this awesome work through a great network of subcontractors, but they really didn't have the sales portion figured out. That's where they were lagging. And they wanted a lot of help.
The amount of people that are just like, thank you so much for coming, and already know what they want, and they have an idea of like why they are bringing native landscaping or edible landscapes into their home. Like, they're just excited to meet us. Every conversation's been like that. They're just like, oh, can you tell me about what to do with this? And tell me how to fix this? And Rick is, I mean, the only thing I don't know how we're going to copy is the encyclopedia that's in his head. Because he looks at some of these things and he's just like, oh yeah, that's it. And it has a problem. And you're like, okay, well, how the hell am I going to know that, right?
Where my mind is going is like templatizing. Well, I think we've been saying that, but
we have that.
Where my head is going as far as not for pricing, but for like selection process.
Yeah.
So my head is going towards like having a collection of like, hey, if you want purple that can handle the shade, you go this.
No,
if you want blue,
he has that.
Okay.
He's got all that figured out. That part they've done actually a really good job of. He's got a list of what we supply. It's the only things we really work with, unless there's a special request. We don't service it.
Does it go by like whether they handle shade? And
if it's full sun, if it's shade, if it's half shade.
Nice.
Like, and then also the sizes, because something I'm learning from him is like, for instance, if she wanted this to all be plants, like the sod to come out, then he would make sort of like stadium effect. So like depending on where you're looking. And then you have like varying degrees of sizes of how big they grow and how wide they grow to create like an effect. And it feels like it's very like built towards the user, the person looking at it. But what I'm getting at more that it's like going to be really hard to copy with him is like just the ability to diagnose what other people have already put in.
Right.
Because like some of the stuff, like it's not native, some of the stuff we wouldn't use, so we don't know what it is, but he knows what it is. It's like, oh yeah, this is a bat and that's gonna die. You're like, oh, how the fuck am I gonna know that? So that's the one thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around. But the more that I go with him and listen, the more that you pick up some of the same, you hear the same plants over and over again. And also visually, you start to notice them. Like you start to see the same things. Like we've seen this camphor tree now like 3 or 4 times. So I imagine I'm going to keep seeing that. Like somebody's just thrown them in, or it's in the wrong place it shouldn't be. But there's a lot to learn in this space for sure.
What we agreed to is, we said Wildscape does beautiful work. Their crews know the plants, they understand the design, their installations look incredible. But when a lead came in, there was just no real system to handle it. And here's the thing about home service businesses. You could be the best craftsman out there in your market and still struggle to grow if you just can't convert leads into jobs. So Wildscape had the skills, but not the infrastructure. Every missed follow-up and every missed lead was just revenue that was walking out the door that they were paying for in their marketing. There's no clear handoffs, no follow-up process, really no way to track what was working and what wasn't. So when we stepped in to rebuild their sales process, we were going to do it from scratch and not with some just overcomplicated CRM or like a giant team of expensive salespeople. We started with just one salesperson and started by understanding what they actually do, walking the job sites, learning the plants, seeing how the work gets delivered, because you can't really sell something that you don't understand.
So he's in there narrating. He's saying like, but he's basically walking through.
I didn't think about this area over here.
He's going to say the square footage, like what they're going to do, how much they're going to rip out, what they're replacing it with. And he starts to lay out the whole plan. Then they take this video, combine it with the location, and then they send it off to the designer and they send back the renderings.
That's so cool.
It's great. And then actually, I think from a sales process, it's going to be really simple because we're just essentially
Information gatherers.
That's all you're doing.
Want to walk back with them?
You're asking her the questions of like, what do you want? What do you need? Right? And then it just goes from there. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what we're looking at here.
So we're looking at a design rendering, a layout for a client. This was for a location here in Orlando for a very sweet couple who just moved into their home about 6 months ago. And they were looking to redo pretty much all of this back space in their yard. So when we came there yesterday, there's a little gate here, and a lot of this was kind of torn up. They just built a pathway. But they have this beautiful pool and this big shaded area. They really have two different climates. They have like a complete open sun area where this is getting a ton of sun throughout the day, and then everything over here is completely shaded. So this is a really interesting use case because we're able to put stuff that is like only works in the shade. Like beauty berry, like this wild coffee, like the oak leaf hydrangeas, those will only really thrive in the shade. So we're able to put those in, and then on this other side where we have this direct sunlight, we can put things like beach sunflower, black-eyed Susans, pink mully grass. So that's all gonna kind of like create more color to the place. So yeah, this is just a really great visual tool that we're gonna be using with our salespeople to be able to show to the client directly and let them kind of visualize and pick items out of it. They do a 3D version of this also, which shows you like a complete walkthrough of the entire house, which is crazy, but yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at here. That's awesome.
So we built a lean system around speed and consistency, faster response times, cleaner handoffs, better tracking, and the goal was not perfection with this, it was just getting momentum, having that momentum. Okay, so Grant and I have been tinkering for the last couple of hours to get things right for Wildscape. What we're doing is we are working on the AI and automation systems across a couple different things. We have an AI voice agent that will answer the phone if someone calls our dedicated sales line basically, and it'll try to book them on an appointment. But more importantly for this business, I'll explain why in a second, why it's more important. We have AI conversational that is also attached to that same phone number. So through text messaging, it'll go back and forth with them, have a conversation and try to book them on the calendar. So we're using Go High Level for this. We basically have these two automations. This is what's happening in the business. So we've got Meta lead opt-in message and website lead opt-in message. These are both automations. And what happens is someone comes in through the website lead-in form, which is just the organic one that we have on the Wildscape website. If someone goes onto the website, fills out this form, then they will come into here. It'll create an opportunity in our sales pipeline, and then it'll send an internal notification to us with all of their information that they filled out so that we get a drop on it right away. That comes as a SMS text message, so it gets to you really quick so that we can have speed to lead. And then the customer or the prospect themselves gets an SMS that is kind of just a conversation starter. Saw your form submission. Could you tell me a little bit about the project? They get a similar email. The email has the ability for them to just book a 15-minute consult call and get something on the calendar. But the AI is also going to go back and forth with them if they respond to this SMS. And if all of that fails, we still have the internal notification go to our sales team so that they can actually just call the person right there and then and kind of figure things out. And then we have really the same thing happening over on this side for Meta leads, because a lot of our leads come in through Meta, Instagram, and Facebook ads. So they come in through there, they go through the same kind of flow. And that is basically how we're kind of transforming the operations here a little bit, so that rather than there being all of these leads that are coming through and a lot of them fall through the cracks or get missed, none of them are going to fall through the cracks. We're going to be able to get to all of them very quick, and AI is going to be able to have a lot of the conversation that would otherwise take a lot of someone's time, where they can focus on just the revenue generating activities of being on those 15-minute phone consults and setting up a site visit to go see the customer and doing the actual site visits and then selling and trying to close a deal, getting a quote across and that sort of thing. In Scale for Sale AI, we actually support other businesses just like Wildscape in implementing these systems. So if you feel like in your business, you're maybe going through something similar, maybe when you spend money on marketing, you're not able to get to all the leads and nothing's happening with a lot of them and you're not able to convert as many of them to sales as you thought you should be, then you can go to the link in the description below, book a call with me, and I'll go in depth with you on what this might look like to implement it in your business and start converting more of the leads that you get into booked appointments so that you can make more sales. We think this is going to have a massive improvement. We've seen it have ridiculous improvements in other businesses that we have the same kind of systems in, and we're just really excited about this one. The beauty specifically of this business is most of their leads come in through Meta already, and that is basically a form that they're filling out with their phone number. And because we can have it just send that automated message and then have the AI take over on text messaging, there's very little human interaction that has to happen to have a lot of speed to the lead. And having speed to lead is really important because people usually fill out these forms at the height of their motivation for whatever they're filling out the form for. So if they fill out a form and then are immediately contacted by text message and they respond to the text message and they immediately end up in a back and forth conversation, they are not going to feel like the AI is on the other side of the conversation because we've just done a really good job of making it very conversational and natural. But they're going to go back and forth with that conversation while still at that height of motivation. Then they're going to end up on the calendar. Our sales team can take it over and just keep the momentum flowing and actually make sure that they get what they need. And that's really what I think the big advantage of what we're bringing to a lot of our businesses is that speed to lead and that decreased need for human interaction right up front just allows our salespeople to get more people on their calendar, to talk to more people, and to spend less of their time on the admin tasks of the back and forth and the scheduling, and more of their time on closing deals. So we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this off of your plate this week when I get back. I know this is this little transition period of us getting everything kind of ready to go, but I feel like, you know, between what information we've gotten from you directly and then just the process that he and I are going to start building, we should be ready to rock and start, you know, knocking these site visits out. I think the quoting process will still lean on you a little bit for in the short term until we start to have a really clear understanding of, you know, what needs to be on those quotes so we get our numbers right. But as far as like site visits and measurements and stuff like that, I feel like we're going to be confident to knock that out when I get back this coming week.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Really, the business needs it too. It's, you know, the business is suffering by me trying to do all the things. So
yeah, man.
You know, I'm just trying to keep it together here. And you know, we got 4 installs over the next 4 days.
Let's go.
We have one today. We have one Friday. We have one Monday. And we have one Tuesday. So it's, you know, it's while I'm still trying to send out quotes and close deals and, you know, do all the things. So
that's great.
These are good problems to have here, but I also know that, you know, we're losing business in the process because we're not as efficient and on top of it as I would like to be.
We're gonna get there. Yeah, I mean this time
we've added, I don't know, somewhere between like 6. We definitely added like 6 to 10 consults over the last couple days here this week as well. So I mean, she keeps filling the calendar. So and these aren't even these are just people now like booking site visits for us that you'll see on the calendar, and not even like the people that we have to follow up with, which there's probably like 2 dozen.
Yeah, which I'm looking forward to pulling that trigger ASAP as well.
So I mean, when you guys get back, you're gonna have probably kind of 2 dozen site visits already on the schedule, and then 2 dozen people to follow up with.
Throw me in the weeds, Rick. That's what I want, man. That's what I want.
No shortage of opportunities here. I'm just looking forward to not dropping the ball and getting to people.
Music to my ears.
I know the horizon. I can see it on the horizon, but you know, the perfectionist in me just wants to just be better.
Hey, you know, perfect is the enemy of progress, right? That's the one that I always remember.
That's true.
But good. That's what I want to hear. Throw us to the weeds, man. I'm hyped. We've been talking about it all this time we've been here in Vegas about how much we're ready to get to work on all this. So yeah, good stuff. I'm glad to hear the installs are going well. Mostly wanted to check up on Cody.
So I am on the way to Wildscape's main office today, and I just been thinking about this incredible week that we've had, really just getting started building the sales system for them. And I just wanted to go over some of the things that we've been talking about and the way that the business has been growing. So, going into this, we knew that there were some major, I don't want to say faults in the system, but we knew there were some major opportunities. There were some places that the team had a really great understanding of how to implement their product. Like, they were great at the design, at the install. The customers were super satisfied and happy with the end product they were receiving. The issue really boiled down to the fact that, there wasn't a quick enough speed to lead. So there was a lot of customers coming in the pipeline. They were getting responded to, I should say, relatively quickly. Like, they were coming in on the phone and they were doing a good job of pre-screening the customers, but the sales process really felt like there was a lot to be desired. Meaning, we would come out and do sort of a site visit, collect a ton of information from the customer, and then start to try to build a quote, but the quoting process was taking days, sometimes weeks. And as most people know in the home service business, even if it's project-based like this, being able to capture the interest and the energy of the client when it's at its peak is the best way to ensure that the sale converts. And so, if someone's really excited about the idea of a project and then they call you to come out and do a site visit and it takes them a week or two to get the quote, well, they've already kind of moved on in their head to other things. They're already thinking about what's happening with, their kids' little league competition, or, they start to think about, what's going on at work, or maybe they need to think about going and getting groceries this week. There's all types of things that sort of just pile up and get in the way, and they prevent you from thinking about the project and then completing the project. So I think they have a lot of high intent customers, but they just weren't able to constantly convert them at a high level. And so they had tried bringing in a sales rep before, and the salesperson didn't really thrive. And I think there's two sides to the story. I think on the one side, maybe they just selected the wrong person. I think on the other side, they didn't have a system in place to make him successful. And so that's where we come in. We've come into this process and gone, all right, how can we elevate the sales process? How can we make sure that the customer does get captured when they're at peak interest, they do get the quote and the estimate, and they're able to start making the decision where they're at their peak and they're feeling the most connected to the idea and the project. And so what we've done to accomplish that is we've sort of standardized or templatized the pricing structure. So before, they had to sort of measure out all the details of the yard and then figure out how much they're going to charge for removal, and then talk to a set of subs on how much it was going to cost them for labor. And then if there's hardscaping, how much they're going to charge per square foot on hardscaping. And maybe the customer wants a certain size of tree that's difficult to source. We had to throw all that out. We had to come back to our subcontractors and say, hey, we're going to give you consistent work, right? You're going to be able to work with us. We're going to have 15, 20, maybe 30 jobs a month for you consistently. What is the rate per day that allows us to start to kind of build a quote structure from there? So once we were able to sort of nail down what the labor costs were going to be, it became a lot easier for us to start looking at the process as a whole and saying, all right, now if I just measure the square footage of the yard, I can apply a simple price per square foot. If it's an easy job, if it's going to be a little bit more difficult, like there's more rubbish or debris, or there's something like heavy, or if there's going to be like a very complicated job where there's lots of moving parts and they want a lot of hardscaping, etc., that's our most premium price per square foot. And so what this is going to allow us to do now is it's going to let us take the project, get a quick measurement, put together a quote and estimate that's fairly accurate, like probably 90% of the way there, and get it to them same day. What does this do? It allows us to really capitalize on the momentum, get the customers' worries and concerns fully addressed and focused, and ideally close more deals. And so what I've been doing as sort of their chief revenue officer, or the person building or designing the sales system, instead of just building it by myself and alongside the owners, I'm building it alongside who my first hire is going to be in the company. And I think this is really important because there's a sense of ownership now for this hire. He feels like he's connected to the business and the process because he's watching it develop and he's giving me feedback on what he thinks is going to work the best for him. And he's also going to be tied into all the sort of aches and pains growing into this, So he's able to feel like he has more control over the final product. And that's also going to allow him in the future, when the business inevitably scales, to be able to implement this process to others because he helped build it. He helped watch it be built. He was implementing that process with me. And so I think a lot of business owners miss this. A lot of people in our position and kind of scaling companies up miss this. You know, they want to own everything themselves. They want to build everything themselves. And that's great because it gives you a sense of pride and a sense of ownership. But if you can do it in front of the people that are necessary for the business to scale, it's all the better. And if you can involve them in that process, well, things get really exciting then. And so the next step for us throughout this month is, as I'm finishing and kind of putting the polished touches on this system, which, I mean, it's a work in progress. It's never going to be fully finished, but getting it to the point where it's no longer in the owner's hands and it's no longer in my hands. I'm going to be really trying to push our first hire for this, our sort of key man for this position, getting him up to speed, getting him ready to handle all this by himself, and then switching more from like being on like in the road, like on the road or on site, which is what I've been doing this month, to really managing the sales process and the sales funnel as a whole. So that's our update, a few weeks into it for Wildscape Designs, and yeah, looking forward to giving more info as time develops.
When you fix sales in a service business, everything else just gets easier. It's more predictable revenue, which means you can invest in better equipment, hire better people, take on bigger projects, and the cash flow improvement just funds the next level of growth. But it's not just about this quarter or this month's numbers. It's about a proper sales system becoming an asset to the business. It's scalable, it's transferable, and it increases the value of the entire business. And this is what building a portfolio of businesses actually looks like. It's not just, getting a new asset or buying a business and just hoping it grows based on what it's done before. It's identifying the constraint, building the system, and watching the compounding effect just take hold and grow the business. And each business really just teaches us something that makes the next one easier, or the next step easier. Now, we're documenting this entire process just as it happens. The wins, the mistakes, the losses, real numbers. And if you want to see how this plays out and you want to stick around, just subscribe, like this video, and we'll see you on the next one.